Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new Hocus Pocus film, Hocus Pocus 2. This film is a sequel to the 1993 original film that Disney released back in the day. What was interesting about that first Hocus Pocus movie is that the film actually bombed in theaters because it was released during the summer of 1993, but it found kind of a cult following and became a Halloween favorite amongst many people when the VHS rental became available at Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video and other video rental stores back in the day. And so as a result, this film has pretty much a huge cult following to this day. So anytime you go to a store for Halloween stuff during the Halloween season, you're always going to see Hocus Pocus stuff now. It's just really kind of clicking with people. It didn't really click with people back in the day, but it's got a cult following over the years. And as a result, Disney finally greenlit a sequel, and it's finally here and it's available to stream on Disney Plus. But in this film, you guys, basically, it follows a group of young girls who are. That's my cat. Hold on. Here, just be quiet for a little bit, okay? Figured I'd keep that in the video since there's cats in this movie too. So, and my own cat's meowing at me. So, but anyway, back to the review. The girls are there's these high school girls that live in Salem, and they want to do something unique for the Halloween season since it's Halloween time and the town always goes big. And they go to this candle shop slash magic shop slash novelty shop. It's basically just a little magic store in town, and it basically strongly resembles the old Sanderson house. And basically, this guy who runs the shop knows that one of the girls has a 16th birthday on Halloween, and basically offers this candle that will do something supposedly unique and interesting to their lives. And basically, they like to go to this forest to do this little ritual every Halloween season. And since they have this candle this year, they're hoping something more interesting is going to happen. So basically, Halloween night comes and goes, but they light the candle. They want to see what happens. And wouldn't you know, the Sanderson sisters are back from the dead. But overall, guys, I actually thought this film was just okay. I really was hoping for something huge from this movie. I really liked the first Hocus Pocus film a lot. I grew up on it. Um, I watch it almost every year for Halloween. Um, so I basically watch it once a year. So this is a film that I was really hoping was going to be great as a sequel. I know Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy have all really pushed for a sequel to happen ever since the first movie, and ever since the cult following got really huge for it. And as a result, I'm happy it happened. I'm happy this film exists. I'm happy it got made. I just kind of personally wish for something a little bit better than what we got. But I'm going to go over some positives and negatives of why that is the case and what things Hocus Pocus 2 got right and things that Hocus Pocus 2 did not get so right. And why, if we do get a third film, hopefully there's some fixing they could do to make a third film better if they decide to make a third film. But for my positives and negatives for you guys, all three of the Sanderson sister actresses are great in this movie. That's Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker. They really didn't lose a beat since the first movie. They really they basically are these characters again. Everything you love about their characters from that first movie is still intact here. There's things in the modern world that they're still not quite used to. They're still not used to open, sliding doors and stuff like that. They're not used to. I think somebody had a Siri or an Android in their house that basically they could ask questions to. So they're not used to Android technology and stuff like that. But all three actresses are great here. I think they worked with the best possible thing they could do with the script, whether it was the script or not. But all three of them are great in this movie, and it really shows. You can tell all three of them have a passion to play these characters, and it really showed. That's probably the biggest positive I can give this movie. The film also does connect to the first film. There's a character, I think his name is Gilbert. He has a huge connection to the first film. So if you have not seen the first Hocus Pocus, make sure you do before watching this movie. His character in particular is explained in one point in the movie why his character is connected to the first movie. And I thought that part was kind of interesting. There's other things along the line of moments that connect to the first film, and they actually use clips from the first film to kind of connect those scenes. And I wish this film used more of those. I wish this film found ways to connect to the first Hocus Pocus a lot more than it did. There is connections. They exist. I'm happy they exist. They're part of my positives, of course, for this movie. But I wish that the film could have used more of them because when they happen, I really enjoyed what they did with it. I also like that Winnie's book from the first film has an opinion on things. The book was just kind of a prop in the first Hocus Pocus film. In this film, they give it more of a personality. The book has an opinion. The book is scared of certain spells when he tries to use them. Obviously, the book has an opinion of these young girls that are the protagonists of the story. So I like this idea for the movie. I like the idea of the prop just not coming back, the prop actually doing something, having an opinion, being scared of certain spells. I like that idea. So I did enjoy the idea of Winnie's book having an opinion on things. There's also small details too, like you'll see it sweat in certain scenes. You'll see the eyeball reflecting like happiness or sadness, or it'll squint a certain way. So I like that idea of the book having an opinion on something. The young girls who play the young Sanderson sisters at the beginning of the film, since they do flash back to the 1600s early on in the movie, I thought all three of those actresses played a young Bette Midler, a young Kathy Najimy, and a young Sarah Jessica Parker very well. It really did feel like younger versions of the characters. They spend a good solid 15-20 minutes with these versions of the characters, and all three of them are very good. I thought the people that they recruited to fill in for these younger versions of the Sanderson sisters all felt like younger versions of the characters that we know. So whenever they show up in the movie, which isn't very much, unfortunately, but when they do, I thought all three of these actresses did a very good job. I also like how the events of the first Hocus Pocus film kind of shaped the town of Salem in this movie. There's one of two ways you can handle it. You could either make the town of Salem scared to celebrate Halloween, or you could really make them embrace Halloween even more. And they go the route of Salem embracing it even more and embracing the Salem Sanderson sister history even more. So I like that idea of the first film happened. Yes, it probably terrified a lot of people during the event of the first movie, but the town really kind of makes that into their own even more over the years. And since it is 29 years since the first movie, you can definitely see how the festivals in the town have gotten bigger, how Halloween's an even bigger deal now, how the Sanderson sisters themselves are kind of celebrities in a way, how they even have a costume contest involving the Sanderson sisters. So I like this idea of the town of Salem embracing the Sanderson sisters even more based on the events of the first movie. It kind of gives the town a bigger reason for existing the way it does by the time we see this movie. But for my negatives of Hocus Pocus 2, unfortunately this film is just not as magical as the first film. The first film I thought was very good with kind of setting up a beginning, a middle, and an end, having arcs for characters, having things that characters have to get over. Thackeray Banks himself had a beginning and a middle and an end that he had to overcome in the first Hocus Pocus film. Max had to become a better big brother. Danny had to kind of not be so scared of everything. Allison learned a lot about herself in that movie. So there's just a lot of stuff in that first Hocus Pocus film that didn't quite translate over to the second film very well. It just doesn't quite feel as magical as that first film. And that's something that really kind of let me down by the time the credits were rolling in this film, is I just didn't quite feel as charmed as I did in the first movie. I also thought the third act of this film was just very lazy and just extremely uneventful. For those who remember the third act of the first Hocus Pocus, I mean, there's just so much happening. They got to stop the Sanderson sisters. They have to make sure that by the time Halloween night is over with, that they're toast by the end of the morning. There's just so much more going on. And by the time the third act happens in this film, it's just lazy and uneventful. And it just, I got what they were going for, There's a theme about sisterhood that they try to share in this, but it just feels very lazy and uneventful to me. And it's just one of those endings where when I was watching it, I just kind of couldn't believe my eyes, just because the way that they chose to wrap up the story was just very uneventful to me. So the third act of this film was not my favorite. And also I thought the CGI was also very bad too for the third act. So not my favorite. Third act of the film disappointed me. like I said, another negative I have with the film is I thought the CGI and the green screen effects were really quite bad. There's a handful of shots. It's like, okay, I can buy into that, but there's scenes where they're flying on brooms and they're clearly flying over a town that's not Salem, and there's scenes where they're trying to create the illusion of them flying in the air, and it's clearly not the sky that's in the background where they're filming on that day and stuff like that. And so there's just a lot of moments here where, for being 29 years later, it is kind of sad that a film in 1993 looks a lot better than it does in 2022. I don't know if that's just a budgeting thing. I don't know if it's because it was a Disney Plus film, it just doesn't get the budget that they needed to, that they would need to do if they released this film theatrically. But I thought the CGI in this film was unfortunately pretty bad. So I also thought there's just a lot of scenes that lack logic. There's, without going into spoilers, there's a spell that Winnie wants to do in this movie where if she knew kind of the side effects and the after effects of performing the spell, I just can't see the Winnie from the first film ever performing this trick. And even if she did, I would imagine that this spell would have been done a long time ago, especially during the first film, during the events of when they were kind of in the bad. They were, losing against Max, Danny, and Allison. I have a hard time believing that a spell like this would have waited until just now to be done. And if Winnie knew kind of what the spell would do as an after effect by the time it's performed, I don't think she would ever go through with it. So that's just my personal opinion. There's just a lot of scenes here that just lack logic like that. And without going into spoilers, again, there's a character that wants to do this one thing with this one object, and if he really wanted that goal to be done, you'd imagine he would probably do it way earlier than he did. So there's just a lot of scenes that lack logic like that, and so it just kind of bothers me because it's like they've had so many years to come up with a good sequel idea to Hocus Pocus, and I see all these plot holes and loopholes in the script that really kind of could have been better for this movie, and I just felt a little disappointed. I also thought some of the legacy characters could have shown up here, like whether Danny for sure would have been an easy one to throw and just make the point that one of these kids is her daughter or something, and that would have been an easy way to put her into the story. Max would have been a little bit more tricky because I think Omri Katz is retired in real life as an actor. But once again, you could have incorporated him into the story somehow. Allison would have been another easy one to put in there. Make her the mother of one of these daughters or these kids or whatever this film focuses on. Unfortunately, they just don't have a lot of them here. They just don't have, obviously they can't use Binks for obvious reasons, but yeah, I think more people would have been happy with this film if more legacy characters showed up, and they didn't use them. So they decided to use completely new characters, and I think it kind of hurt the film as a result. So that's another downside of the movie for me. And that goes into my last point. The film, unfortunately, does have a lot of really uninteresting characters. I also thought the use of witchcraft in this film was not so great. There's a scene that suggests that everybody in Salem could use witchcraft if they really practice. That, to me, does not really follow what the first Hocus Pocus film set up. But yeah, going back to those lead characters, I really thought they were very uninteresting. I just really didn't quite get as intrigued by them in the way I did with Max, Danny, or Allison in the first movie. And for a film to work, you really have to care about those lead characters. And in the event of this film, I really didn't, unfortunately. So overall, I'm going to give Hocus Pocus 2 a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's an okay film. I think there's good things about it. I think a third Hocus Pocus film, if they get it right and find the right people, hopefully more of the original cast and crew will come back for a sequel if they do a third one. But there really is a lot of problems with this movie. A lot more problems than what the first film had. But it's an okay film. I think if you have Disney Plus, if you're already subscribed to it, it's not a terrible thing to watch on Halloween, but I thought it was okay. As a Hocus Pocus fan, I was expecting more, but it's a Disney Plus movie, so just go into it knowing that. 7.5 out of 10. Go in with caution. There's good things about Hocus Pocus 2, but there's a lot of bad things about it too. So 7.5 out of 10 for me.